Melech.
I'm sorry. Okay.
David Melech, before he died, told Shlomo Melech to deal with some of David Melech's enemies. And Adoniyahu, last time we learned, Shlomo Melech had decided to save his life as long as he didn't cause any trouble, but he asked to marry Avishag Shunamit, which looked to Shlomo Melech like a play for the Melucha, so he was done as a Mori b'Malchus, and he was killed. And he also banished Ev Yosser HaKohen, the Kohen Gadol, away from Yerushalayim. And we said Golus is like Misa, and this fulfilled the actual nevuah that was told to Eli HaKohen that the Kohen Gedula would be taken away from him and given to Tzadok HaKohen. So now we get up to Pasuk Chavches. Vashmua ba'ad Yoav. Yoav was David HaMelech's Sartzava, who had killed Avner and Amasha during David HaMelech's lifetime. And we discussed at that time that David HaMelech didn't feel he had the ability to strike out against Yoav because he was politically powerful. And what is the Shmua? What news comes to Yoav? Ki Yoav nata achrei Adoniyahu. We know that Yoav was one of the supporters of Adoniyahu, but v'achrei Avshalom lo nata. The pasuk immediately points out that Yoav might have been supportive of Adoniyahu, but he was not supportive of the rebellion of Avshalom against David. Even so, Vayanas Yoav el Oel Hashem. Yoav is afraid for his life. He runs to the Oel Hashem, which we'll have to define. Where is the Oel Hashem? Right, the base of Mikdash is not built yet. The Mishkan is in Givon, right? Vayachazek bekarnot hamizbeach. And not only that, but in this Ohel, a Mishkan, Yoav holds on to the corners of the Mizbeach. Now, the significance of the corners of the Mizbeach, that is where, when you bring a korban, chatas, for example, you sprinkle the blood of a korban chatas on the corner of the Mizbeach. Rashi says, what Shmua did Yoav hear? Shmua's mitzvahs David should see v'lahargo. He had heard through the grapevine that one of the things that David HaMelech had said in his last will and testament was that you should kill Yoav. So this information has now trickled to Yoav himself. Number two, Yada Shlomo Sono. Yoav understood that Shlomo hated him because he had backed Adoniyahu when Adoniyahu tried to declare himself king. And Rashi points out, Achrei Avshalom lo nata, meaning sof davar. That means in the end, Yoav did not support Avshalom. Aval bikesh lintos. But he had in mind to support Avshalom.
Recording in progress.
And therefore, El Yisrael Shadayin Lachluchish Shel David Kayemes. It's a Gemara in Sanhedrin that David was still powerful, and therefore he did not completely support Avshalom. So by not supporting Avshalom, he was not a Moired b'David HaMelech. Yoav is clearly fearful for his life because he saw that Adoniyo is now punished as a Moed b'Malchus, and therefore anyone that supported Adoniyo could also be at risk for being punished. The Malbim says clearly, the Ilu halach gamach Avshalom. Let's say Yoav, the Malbim says, would have followed Avshalom. Maybe he would have an excuse. Listen, Avshalom was the oldest son, and you could forgive somebody for following the normal process where a Bechor would rule. V'chein even b'mashalach achrei Adoniyo, do amrani emloch below Shlomo achidit sar mimeni. He could have also followed Adoniyo because he was the next in line. So the Malbim wants to say, Kivin Shaloh Allah Achrev Avshalom, Nira Shein Shitas okay. Since he didn't follow Avshalom, he couldn't use the excuse, oh, I'm going to follow Adoniyo because he was the Bechor, because he didn't follow Avshalom because he was the Bechor. So therefore, that he went, the Malbim says, Lefichach Mashalach Achrei Adoniyo Ayamer B'Shlomo, Umizah Yorei. And since now Adoniyo was killed because he was a Mored, he's now fearful he's next on the line. Both Rashi brought, and like we read, and Radak brings that he was Bikesh Lintos Achrei Avshalom, but he didn't do it. But he had in his mind to rebel. The Gemara in Sanhedrin Daf Mem Tes, in fact, brings this pasuk Vashmua Bad Yoav. That he had in mind, Bikesh Lintos Gamach Rev Shalom, Elashu Gomar Machshavto Neshadain Hayalich Luchlis Gvorasa Shal David Kayemes. David was not weak then. David, as when he was older and they had to bring Avishaga Shunamit, was much older. But when the Avshalom rebellion took place, David is still strong. Now that he's sick, he went after Adoniyo. The Marsha explains this Gemara as well, that besides the fact that Yoav might have been Chayiv Misa on the fact that he killed Avner and Amosha, even though David HaMelech didn't want them killed, but he's also Chayiv because he's a Morgan. He's also Chayiv Misa because he's rebelling against the king. What's the difference? Haruge Malchus Nechosav LaMelech V'lo LaYorshim. When a king kills somebody that is a Morgan Malchus, the king takes the assets of the person he kills. It doesn't go to the Yorshim. Now, if Beis Din is going to kill you as a Rotseach, then your Yorshim would at least inherit your property. Now, the Oel Hashem is the place where the Aron was. We already know that David HaMelech a long time ago had brought the Aron to Shalayim. That, remember when Uziah was killed, and eventually they were able to bring it, and it was placed in an Oel, and there was a Mizbeach there. Because in Shmuel Beis, it says, David brought Korbanos before the Aron. Now, some Meforshim want to learn that maybe he ran all the way to Givon, where the real Mizbeach was. That was a Bama Satzibur. And that's why it's called Oil Hashem. Now, the Metzudas David explains, holding on to the corners of the Mizbeach is not going to save your life. Well, I mean, there's no sanctuary like when you run to a Ira Miklat. So where do we see that this, but they thought, Yoav thought that they wouldn't kill him there because it's going to create tumah. Now, the Malbim brings the Gemara in Makkos Yud Beis Amud Aleph that he thought that the Mizbech would save him. But he made three mistakes. Number one, Eina Mizbech koileit rak kohen vado biyado. That means the pasuk says that if a kohen is doing the avoda and the Beis Din calls for him to come because he's a rotzeach, while he's doing the avoda in the Mizbech, Beis Din cannot get access to him. But that's a kohen doing the avoda. That's not a Yoav, is not a kohen. Number two, he made a mistake. She'ein koilet rak mizbech beis olamim. Only when the mizbech is built in the Beis Hamikdash is that mizbech going to have the power to protect the kohen who is a rotzeach from being schlepped off to Beis Din. The third mistake he made, she'ein koilet rak gago velo karnoisa. If you stand on top of the mizbeach, the roof of the mizbeach, so that would have the power that if the Kohen was doing the avoda, would protect him from being schlepped off to Beis Din. But the holding on to the corners doesn't give you that.
Was Yoav a Kohen?
No.
Apparently, one of the commentaries says you have to be a Kohen to be protected from Misa also.
Exactly. That's why Chazal in Makkah say he made three mistakes. He thought that holding on to the Mizbech would save him. He would not save him because only a Kohen gets saved. It's exactly what we've been learning now. Now, the Musar Nevi'im has an interesting mahalach here. Mashanema v'achrei Avshalom lo nota. The fact that the pasuk emphasized that he didn't follow Avshalom in his rebellion. It says ein lezeh shum shaychus klal l'masha kos alav Shlomo. This has nothing to do with why now Shlomo Melech is angry with him. Masha nota achrei Adoniyahu. It's the fact that he ran after Adoniyahu. It has nothing to do with Avshalom. That's why darshu shakasu balodia shabikesh lintos gamach Avshalom. Really, he that's why Chazal had to darshan the way they did, to say that really at the time of Avshalom's rebellion, Yoav wanted to follow him as well. And it's only now that David HaMelech got older that he went after Adoniyahu, because the only reason he didn't go after Avshalom because David was still strong. So the Musar Nevi'im says the fact that he went after both of them came from the same reason. The ilu shenato acher Avshalom zosai sake ein machol zeh mashrotz David limsor samlucha l'shlomo. That there were people against David giving the melucha to Shlomo. Ki lo rotzu sheben basheva shenasa oto beiser yela melech. People knew that David had sent Uriah Hittite to his death, and they were always troubled by the fact that he married Bathsheba, and in fact Shlomo is the child of David and Bathsheba. So perhaps that's another reason why he went after Avshalom and after Adoniyahu. So really, that's the fact that he went after Adoniyahu shows that he had the same reason. You also have to be careful. Remember, well, we'll leave that for another piece. Okay. The Yerushalmi answers a little bit of these issues. Yoav, we know, was a Talmid Chacham. So the Bavli in Makkos suggests that he made mistakes. But the Yerushalmi says, Yoav lo ta klal. Yoav didn't make mistakes. He knew he wasn't going to save from the death penalty by going to the oil. Elalios Eitzel Sanhedrin, we know that the Sanhedrin was parked in the Lishkas Hagozis, in an office right in the Beis Hamikdash. And Yoav wanted to be sure that when they execute him, he's being killed by Bezdin. Because he wanted to make sure that his assets went to his family, and not that he should be killed as a Mord B'Malchus, where we said that the king gets the assets. Also, he was accepting to be killed. And that's in fact what David HaMelech's desire was as well. Right. Okay, Pasuk Chavtes. Vayugad lemelech Shlomo kinas Yoav el Hashem. So Shlomo Melech is told, Vinei etz lamizbech, and that Yoav is at the mizbech. Vayishlach Shlomo es Benayahu ben Yehoyada, who we said was the Rosh HaSanhedrin. Lemor lech pagabo. Shlomo Melech instructs Benayahu to go kill him there. Number one, we said he was told that he was eitz al mizbech, right? He wasn't on top of the mizbech. We said only the gag of the mizbech is koiled. And in fact, Shlomo didn't tell him, take him out and kill him outside. Kill him while he's there, because the mizbech doesn't have the ability to save him. When David HaMelech told Shlomo to do it kichochma secha, we learned that he said, use your wisdom. So that's why Shlomo waited until now, until he had sort of an excuse to kill Yoav. And now that he's holding on to the Kronos HaMizbeach, he's by the fact that he ran there to save himself, it's in fact an act of rebellion. He's running away. I haven't even given a command to kill him yet. So that's why he goes ahead and gives a command to kill him. The fact that Yoav is holding on to the Mizbech is in fact an admission that he's Chayv Misa. A Melech has the right to kill somebody when he admits. If you remember, when a soldier came to tell David HaMelech that Shaul died, so immediately he killed him. The guy who killed Ishbosheth also. So if the person confesses that he's a Rotzech, the Melech can kill him. You don't have to go through the process of Bezdin. Pasuk Lamed. Vayavo Benayahu lo Hashem. Vayomer elav ko amar HaMelech tzei. Now this is not, Benayahu is doing something on his own. Shlomo didn't tell Benayahu to tell Yoav to leave, but Benayahu tells him to go out. Vayomer lo ki po amus. Again, Yoav says, no, I'm going to stay here, and I'll die here. Vayashav Leos HaMelech davar leimor, ko diber Yoav v'cho anani. And Benayahu reports back to the king, to Shlomo, to tell him what he said. So the Mitzudas David seems to suggest that why didn't Benayahu follow exactly what Shlomo said? Shlomo never told him, make Yoav leave the Ohel Hashem first. But he figured that's the Das HaMelech, not to be Matame, the place of the Aron. But the Abarbanel says, no, he understood that he was doing against the Ratzon of the king. He in fact thought that maybe Yoav can go out, ask mercy from Hashem, from Shlomo, and maybe Shlomo will have mercy on him. Just like he exiled Evyasar, the Kohen Gadol, didn't kill him. Why would Benaiah want to do that? We're going to see soon, after Yoav is killed, who does David HaMelech appoint to be the Sar Tzava of the army? Benaiah. So Benaiah is being very smart here. He doesn't want people to say, oh, you see, Benaiah killed Yoav, and now he's taking his place as the Sar Tzava. He was playing a little politics. He thought maybe Yoav can save himself, and he doesn't have to kill him right away. So people won't say that, oh, you see, Benaiah killed him because he wanted to take his place. That's how the Abarbanel. And again, we already learned the reasons why Yoav wanted to die there, either because of Kapara or because he wanted it to be Misa's Bezdin and to save his Yerusha. Now, in Shmuel Beis, Perek Gimel, David HaMelech cursed Yoav. He told them that from his children are going to come only sick people. Whose phone is that? Mine? What is that? Oh, that's
No, I think
yeah.
it's your machine
Right.
that tells you about your diabetes.
When he said Vayomer Lo, he meant Shtayim Lo HaKabbalah. This is he's not going to accept Misa and the various curses that David HaMelech accepted. Rather, that if he carries out the Misa, Shlomo HaMelech will accept the curses. That's in a medrash in B'midbar Rabbah. B'shosh harag Yoav es Avner, hayu svurin kol Yisrael shedavid tzava lahargo. When Yoav killed Avner, who was the chief of staff for Shaul, the Jews thought that David had commanded Yoav to do it. Shaya Avner ben Dodo shel Shaul was related to Shaul. So that's why David announced a public curse to Yoav. He said, "Ayikarsim beis Yoav zav u'mitzora," that there should be zavim in the house of Yoav and mitzoraim, u'machzik ba'pelach v'nofel v'cher v'chaser lachem. They should die from the sword and they should be poor. Oma David v'kilalas Yoav, and therefore Yodu kol Yisrael shlayam mi David. After Abner was killed by Yoav, the Jewish people saw clearly that David didn't command it. However, eventually, David tziva l'shlomo b'no she'aragoto. Yet, Haya Yoav ben Achosa shel David. Yoav was Yoav ben Tzruya, who is the sister of David. So it's his nephew. So Haya Mavakesh Lavi Eloilam Abba. Kivan Shabikesh Shlomo Arago. So Amar Yoav Nayo Lechem Ol Shlomo Alta Dinani B'Shnei Dinim. Yoav is sending Benayahu back to Shlomo to say, don't judge me with both of these judgments. Im Targeni, if you're going to kill me, at least tol me alai ha-klolois shekilaloni David avicha. Take away the klolois that your father cursed me with. And im lav hanachoti b'klalot. If you're not going to kill me, I'll have the clothes. Miyad, vayomer lo HaMelech, the next pasuk is going to say, Asek asher diber ufkago kvarto, kill him and bury him. So kol ha-klolois shekil David es Yoav niskaimu b'zar shel David. Since Shlomo didn't agree, he killed him, but the various curses that he cursed Yoav with eventually all happened to the children of David HaMelech. And the Gemara explains, one of the kings became as Mitzor, another was a Zav, another fell by Chera. So the curses that David made at Yoav eventually came to him because it was not appropriate for Yoav to be judged with two dinim.
Ernie, just letting you know that the Me'am Lois actually defines which of the descendants from Malchus David suffered which curses. Rechavam contracted the disease of Zav. Uzziah became a leper. Asa was afflicted by gout. Yoshia died by the sword, and Yehoiakim was taken prisoner by the king of Bavel and was dependent upon him for his very bread that he ate.
There you go. There you go. So they all of these curses were Makayim by the Malchei Beis David, exactly like Bernie read in the Me'am Loas. Okay, and here it is, Pasuk Lamed Aleph. Vayom Elah Melech. Shlomo says to Bnei Aseh Kasher Diber Ufkabo Ukvarto, kill him and bury him. Vasirosa Dmechinam, and this will remove the stain of blood Asher Shafach Yoav Me'alai Me'al Beis Avi. The fact that he killed Avner and Amosha, which was Dam Naki that he shouldn't have done, and we will be rid of that. And he was able to be buried in Kivrei Avoisov, and his Yorshim yarshened him. And when he says Asei Kasher Diber, Shlomo accepted that he kapel alaya klalois in order to fulfill the tzivui of my father to kill him. Right. Uziyahu Mitzora. Here he says Uziyahu was the Mitzora. Asa got gout, Yoyakim Nafal B'cherev, and was of Chaser Lachem. So a little different version than the Mamlons. Now, Benayahu, we said before, was a Kohen. So how could Shlomo command Benayahu to bury him? He's not allowed to be Matami Lameis. So some say he commanded somebody else to bury him. Pasuk Lamed Beis. Ve'yishiv Hashem es dam al rosho. And the blood of these innocent will go on Yoav's head. Asher poga b'shnei anoshim tzadikim v'tovim imenu. Because he struck out against tzadikim who were better than him. V'yarge b'cherev. V'avi David lo yada. And David HaMelech didn't command these killings. Who did he kill? As Abner ben Ner Sartzva Yisrael. Vesamosha ben Yeser Sartzva Yehuda. Both were a chief of staffs. This was poigem in the covet of David. And we see through the various statements that David HaMelech had made that he did not share in Yoav's killing of these people. Pasuk Lamed Gimel. B'shavud me'em b'rosh Yoav v'rosh Yisrael la'olam. And it will remain in the generations of Yoav forever. But ula David, ula Zaro, ula Veito, ula Kiso, yasholam ad olam me'im Hashem. But vice versa, to David and his children and the house of the kings and his throne should be peace. And Pasuk Lamed Daled, Vayal Benayahu ben Yehuda vayivga bo vaymiteu. Benayahu goes and kills him, v'yikaver beveito bamidbar, and he's buried in his house in the desert. Either he built a bayit there, or passerbyers will see soon that Yoav was a big Baal Tzedakah. So he was buried with honors. Chazal say in Sanhedrin Medites, "Vayikaver beveso b'midbar." Otu beso midbar hu? What do you mean? He lives in the desert? Or Rav Kimidbar. Ma midbar mufkar l'kol av beis shel Yoav mufkar l'kol. Just like a desert, anyone can go into a desert and eat and drink. It's hefker there. So Yoav's house, Rashi over there in the Gemara says la'niyim lisparnis bebeso. Aniyim could go to Yoav's house all the time and get stuck. Says the Gemara, Davar acher kamidbar, ma midbar benuka migezel. There's no thievery in the midbar. Varayas. There's no sexual immorality in the desert. Av beso shel Yoav menuka migezel varayas. The house of Yoav was clean of theft. So again, as we learned before, Yoav was this conflicted figure. He was a tzaddik, he was a goyim chesed, he was nizr from Gezel Marayas, yet we see that he had evil in him as well. Pasuk Lamed Hey. Who did he replace? Yoav was the chief of staff of the army. Shlomo places Benayo ben Yoda as the new Sartzava. Tzadok HaKohen Nasan HaMelech Tachas Ev Yasser. Ev Yasser HaKohen was the Kohen Gadol. He had exiled him, and he places Tzadok as the new Kohen Gadol. Tzadok was from the family of Pinchas ben Elazar, and Ev Yasser was from the family of Eli, who was from the family of Itamar. Aaron HaKohen had 4 children, Nadav Avihu, Elazar v'Itamar. Nadav Avihu died in the Midbar. So Eli, who was the Kohen Gadol at the time of the Mishkan, so the Kohen Gedula had come from Itamar. But now, by appointing Tzadok to be the Kohen Gadol, it moves over to the family of Elazar, because Pinchas was from Elazar. And this fulfills the klala that was made against Mishpachas Eli, when it said, Vakimosi li Kohen Neman, Kasher bilvovi v'nafshi yaseh. This Kohen Neman was Tzadok. He will go after my Meshucha, who is Shlomo Melech. Pasuk Lamed Vav. Vayishlach HaMelech vayikra l'Shimi. Shimi ben Gera, who had cursed when David HaMelech fled Yerushalayim from Avshalom. Shimi ben Gera cursed him. Now, if you remember, at the end, when David comes back, Shimi is now one of his inner circle. However, Shlomo Melech, but remember, David, as part of his tzavah to his son, had told Shlomo, oh, don't let Shimi get away with it either, because he cursed me. Vayishlach HaMelech vayikra l'Shimi. Vayomer lo bnei lecha bayis b'Yushalayim v'yashavta sham. He tells Shimi, build a bayis in Yerushalayim and live there. But he says, "V'lo tetzei misham anav anat." You can never leave it. You must stay in that house. Stay in Yerushalayim. So the people now have seen Shlomo. He has killed Adoniyo. He's exiled Ev Yasser. He's killed Yoav. He still has to fulfill the process that David HaMelech told him. But the Abarbanel gives us an insight. These were very loyal servants to David HaMelech. Maybe Klal Yisrael is going to see that he's hateful of the people who loved his father David. And yet he's friends was Shimi ben Gera, who cursed David. So he's hateful of the ones who love David because he killed them, and he's friendly with Shimi ben Gera, who is one of his enemies. So that's why now he's trying to wrap this up, and he calls Shimi, and he commands him to build his house there. So he figures he'll be able to come up with a reason to kill him.
Bernie, it just seems this. I know he's following his father's words, but God said that you shouldn't have blood on your hands and to build the temple, and yeah, all you have all this killing all the time. I don't know.
You're saying David HaMelech is chosen not to build the bias because
Because he had all this blood on
all
his
the blood
hands.
on his hands. So here
I mean,
Shlomo
same
is doing
thing.
the same thing.
Right.
Good kasha.
Never Benayahu is the one who is the enforcer. Imagine being told to go out and kill 3 different people on behalf of the king.
So Bernie, you want to say that therefore, you think that saves Shlomo? I mean, David HaMelech didn't actually kill people. He ordered people to kill.
Yes,
Mhm.
No,
So
I think Bernie wants to say
I'm
that
just saying Benayahu is made to be the shlechter here, or just the enforcer.
but the question is, did David HaMelech physically kill people?
No.
No,
That's what I'm saying. So yes, David is called
that
man of
thing, yeah.
war because he's commander of the army. Well, he did kill Goliath. We know he killed Goliath. So maybe he did kill people by himself. And maybe it is an excuse, the way Bernie is explaining, that by having an enforcer like Benayo, it keeps Shlomo's hands clean. I don't know. Esti asks a good kasha.
No, but maybe Shlomo is doing, he's Makayim Kibbutz Av. He's doing what his father asked him to do. So that's not considered that David did it because he was the king. Here, Shlomo's enforcing these things because David HaMelech left him at Tzavah to do that.
And they're all chayiv misa. Each one of them. Evyasar he didn't kill, but we know Adonio was killed because he was a moed b'malchus,
Right.
and he's killed because he's a rotseach.
I'm saying, so there could be a difference. Look, that you have to,
Yeah, in a chanami. If you kill in Besdin, it's not like killing in war.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay, so he's keeping his enemies close now by telling him to build his house in Yerushalayim.
I mean, this is house arrest. It's not keeping him close. He's arresting. You can't leave your house.
So the EIM wants to say there's a little bit midah keneged midah, because Shimi told David, say, ish adamim v'isha, go out. And now Shlomo commands him, lo teitzei misham anavana. So the kapara is, midah keneged midah. Others say that when he told him to build the bias, the kliyakar, because Chazal tell us that Shimi was the Rebbe of Shlomo HaMelech. And really, Shlomo didn't want to kill him. And he thought that he would build him a beis medrash. And he would stay in Yerushalayim, and Shlomo would learn Chachma from him. And that's why he was gozer from not to leave. Because he would be learning all the time. But when you leave, if you ever leave, you will be put to death because you're leaving Torah. Because Eitz Chaim Hila Machzikim Ba. And the Misa will be a Misa, like a double Misa, a physical Misa, and also the fact that you're leaving Torah. So, Posuk Lamed Ches, Vayomer Shimi LaMelech, Tov Adavar. Kasher diber Adoni HaMelech. Ken yaseh Amtech. Shimi agrees. Vayeshev Shimi b'Yerushalayim yamim rabim. And whether you learn that it's a regular house or you learn it's a beis medrash, Shimi follows it. He was happy to be in Yerushalayim. He was learning Torah, and he was happy not to leave. However, Pasuk Lamed Tes, Vayimi Ket Shalosh Shanim, Vayivrechu Shnei Avodim L'Shimi. Two of the Avodim of Shimi escape. El Achish ben Macha Melech Gat. This was a place, remember, David HaMelech hung out there a little bit as well when he was being chased by Shaul. Vayagidu L'Shimi Lemor Inevdecha Begas. He had runaway slaves in Gas. Pasuk Mem, Vayokom Shimi, Vayachavashas Chamoro. He saddles his donkey. Vayelech Gata El Achish, Levakesh Savada. Vayelech Shimi Vayaves Avadav Migas. Shimi goes to Gas to bring back his slaves. Slaves were assets. Now, how did Shimi publicly go against the word of the Melech? And he accepted it. Right? Everyone heard that Shimi was given the permission to build his house in Yerushalayim as long as he stayed there. So the Malbim says he was told not to pass Nachal Kidron. Nachal Kidron was the river that, again, they had to cross when he escaped from Avshalom. That he understood, I can't go east, crossing Nachal Kidron. That'll be like a rebellion. But Gas is to the west of Yerushalayim. Number one. And number two, Gas is outside of Eretz Yisrael. So I'm going to the non-Jews there. I'm not rebelling against Shlomo Melech. He never crossed Nachal Kidron. And he's leaving of derech oines. Means he's trying to capture his slaves. Also, the Kilas Yaakov learns that Shimi thought that the prohibition is a permanent leaving. But to go temporary and then to come back, he didn't think that he was prohibited from doing that. Others say, the Alshich says that he would come very quickly, and Shlomo wouldn't even realize that he left. However, the Pasuk Memala Vayugad Shlomo, Yiholach Shimi Yerushalayim Gat Vayashov. Shlomo had a good intelligence service, was told that Shimi had left and came back. Vayishlach HaMelech Vayikra L'Shimi. Vayomer Elav Alo Yishbatcha B'Shem. You took a shvua. Vayid B'Chalemor B'Yod Tzescha V'Alachta Ana V'Ana. On the day that you leave, Yadoa Tedakimot Tamut. Vatomer Elai Tova Davar Shamati, and you agreed. Umadua and Pasuk Mem Gimel. Umadua lo shamarta shvuas Hashem. Number one, you violated the oath you took. That a mitzvah sher tzivisi alayich, and I commanded you not to go. There's a special chumrah to violate the oath of Hashem. Now, in essence, going against the Tzivul Melech is much worse. Because if you're more b'malchus, you're chayv misa b'dei adam. You get capital punishment. If you violate a shvua, it's misa b'dei shamayim. It also says there's misa if you violate a shvua, but it's misa that comes from heaven. And misa b'dei adam is a worse avera. So mem dalet vayomer HaMelech el Shimi atay yadat et kol ha'ra'ah sheyada levavcha asher asita leDavid avi. Now he sticks it to Shimi. He reminds him that you cursed my father. V'heshiv Hashem es rascha b'shecha. So now it's going to all come back on your head again. And Shimi was maskim to receive this punishment. Boilam hazeh. He understood it was chayv misa over on the shvua. Even though he thought he was cursing David, he had reason to curse him. So there's a Gemara in Kiddushin, Mem Amud Aleph, Amar Avasi, Afilu choshev adam lasos mitzvah, v'nenas v'lo asa, mal alav akasav ki lo asa. Person has a mind to do a mitzvah, and all of a sudden the roof caves in, and he's busy fixing the roof, and he couldn't do the mitzvah. Kadosh Baruch Hu takes your machshava, and he gives you credit for it. Says the Gemara, machshava ra, ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzaref l'maisa. But if you have a bad thought, Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't treat it as if you carried it out. Now, there's a chiluk, the Gemara says. Machshava sha'oisei pri, Kadosh Baruch Hu mitzaref l'maisa. A machshava ra that somehow comes to fruition, he will include it. Machshava she'ein ba pri and Kadosh Baruch Hu mitzaref l'maisa. Comes the Gemara concludes, she'ein adam nena shal machshava levad. A person never gets punishment for a machshava if he didn't do an evil act. Im ken yesh la'achshos kan, ma kavant Shlomo b'mashes kiras kavona shimi. Why all of a sudden is Shlomo Melech bringing up the machshava ra of Shimi? And he said, "Shemach mas machshavto ara karazelo." We don't punish people for machshava ra. Yesh loymar the aval b'chei nenash gama machshavto yoytzri mashe nenash emasa ma'aseh grega. That he didn't do a klala, but having a bad machshava it made it worse. The after Shimi lo asa ma'aseh mamash k'machshavto, he didn't do exactly like his machshava. Aval kiven to asa eza ma'aseh me'ein machshavto, so he would get a punishment. At least that's how the Meforshim deal with that potential problem. But Memhei v'Melech Shlomo Baruch v'chisei David yenochol lifnei Hashem ad olam. Because Shlomo now showed that he wasn't currying favor with people who hated David, and that eventually he punished Shimi for what he did to his father. The people praised Shlomo Melech for his wisdom, and they saw how wondrous it was that initially Shlomo Melech just told him to build a house, but again, like we had a kavana that he knew that at some point he was going to get Shimi to do something wrong, and eventually he'd be able to punish him. So again, the last pasuk, Vayitzava Melech es Benayu ben Yehoda. Again, like Bernie calls him Shlomo's enforcer. Vayetze vayivga bo vayamos. Again, Benayu kills Shimi. V'hamamlacha nachona biyad Shlomo. And now all the various people that David HaMelech told Shlomo to take care of has been taken care of. And it strengthens the Melucha. Today there was a coronation of a king, and there are things that strengthen a kingdom. And here, by getting rid of all of these potential enemies of Shlomo Melech, remember Shlomo Melech was 12 years old. By the way, they took Shimi to the Mokum HaMishpat in Sanhedrin and killed him there. And Rashi says, Lo nena Shlomo kol ele shenargu. Here. Look at the Rashi Memvav. Lo nena shal kol ele. Shlomo Melech was not punished for these. And maybe that's an answer to Esti. That these are not considered, extrajudicial killings. They're judicial killings. Some say Pashut, the Radak learns Pashut Pshat, that his kingship was Nechoina because his enemies have been gotten rid of. And the Abarbanel says all the people recognize that these people were treated justly, and therefore they blessed them for it. Okay. The first pasuk of next week's perek is already going to lead Shlomo HaMelech into trouble. So we begin the kingship of Shlomo HaMelech has started this way, and it will continue in a controversial manner. Any comments, questions, or ha'aros that we didn't mention so far?
Ernie, next week we're back to Sunday at 8 p.m.
Yeah, yes, next week, Sunday, 8 p.m. Tomorrow night is a Pua event at the Spira home at 7 p.m. I know there were a lot of people in the shir that were planning to go to that, so I think it was good that we learned tonight instead.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Shavuot
Shavua Tov, everybody.